Welcome to We Wine Whenever. I'm Wendy.
I'm Kelly.
We are talking about Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Season 5, Episode number 11. And this one is called Troop Salt Lake City. Lame, but whatever.
I was trying to think if I ever watched, what was it, Troop Beverly Hills? Is that what
I
it was
never
called?
did. Yeah,
I never did either. I was thinking of something else. There was something else that Tess watched all the time when she was little, and Olivia and Kylie would come over and they would watch it together. It was something about a dog. Beverly Hills Chihuahua. How many times I've seen that movie. But I was thinking it was Troop Beverly Hills or whatever that was, but it wasn't, because they were way too young for that.
So that's what we start out with. Heather and Whitney decide that they're going to get the girls together and do a gathering around the campfire. And the attire is going to be Girl Scout chic. And they make up the invitation, no heels, but bring your feels. Whitney's talking about how she doesn't know if she can be in the same room as Meredith. And, you know, she's going to have to be. And you're going to be outside. So there's that. And then Whitney asks if she can bring Bronwyn. Well, if you're inviting all the girls, of course you're going to bring Bronwyn. I mean...
And Heather didn't like it when she was left out, so why would she leave somebody out then?
Exactly. And Heather says to Whitney, I thought this was interesting. Between you and me, I think Bronwyn is sneaky. Now, how do you really think that's going to stay between those two?
No, and I love that Heather thinks Bronwyn talks about her. Like, she's like, I don't want to be friends with somebody who talks about me as soon as I walk away from the table. Heather talks about everybody. Did you hear this? Did you hear that she put in her latest book that Coach Shah tried to hook up with Monica Garcia?
I did.
That's disgusting.
I did.
Whatever your feelings are about Jen Shah right now, because she lied to you about being guilty, but that's one thing. But why are you running his name through the mud now? For Monica Garcia?
I agree. And now you're messing with two families, Monica's family and Jen Shah's family.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, I heard it from actually Up and Adam was talking about it. He was also talking about, which I didn't, I wouldn't be surprised that when she blurted out that black eye was from Jen, it wasn't from Jen. That black eye was not from Jen Shah.
Was it? I thought it was.
No, according to Up and Adam, was kind of, she blurted that out, but that's not the truth. It was kind of proven that prior to that day, she already had like the makings of a black eye. And she kind of was just throwing it out there. Like something had happened. She was covering it up. And people had said that way back when she wasn't saying who it was. There was many people that said, like, it looked like it was, it was coming. Because a black eye doesn't happen that quick. It doesn't happen.
No.
It doesn't happen that quick. So something
had happened. It's like a bruise. It's almost like worse the next day.
Yeah. And they actually were saying it may have even been some sort of procedure.
That makes complete sense.
Yes, it does.
I don't know why it wouldn't be on both. Maybe she just had something done to one eye, but that makes way more sense than anything else.
Right. And why it would be like delayed like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like it would come, like it was some sort of procedure. And listen,
that's interesting.
She didn't out that it was Jen until Jen was in jail.
That's right.
So, and now you're putting her name in your book too? I mean,
and her husband.
I
heard something very funny about Heather Gay today. I was listening to Two Teas in a Pod, and they were saying that Heather Gay is still waiting. It's been 5 years to get approved for Raya.
No, I heard that. She said that on stage. On Watch What Happens Live. And Shep is like, I can give you a referral. She's like, no.
Because you need the referrals, right?
Well, she's like, no, everyone is giving me the referral. They still won't approve me.
Well, I can't believe she admit that. Like,
yeah, I know.
She's such that girl that just wants to be like popular. She's still that girl.
She is. And she doesn't care at what expense, at whose expense, which I don't like that. That's kind of shitty.
She's got no character. There's no.
No, I agree. I am liking her less and less as this show goes on.
Me too.
Then we see Meredith goes to the gallery. She's meeting up with Mary. While she's at the gallery, she's saying how she thought Mary should have reached out to her, but she didn't. So Meredith admits that she reached out to her to meet up with her because she felt like her actions were not in her character, the way she was acting. And, then we see Mary's trying to talk to Robert Jr. before she leaves. And then they cut back to Meredith, like losing it at the gallery. And now it's been 40 minutes. So she decides to FaceTime her son and her daughter, Chloe and Brooks. And I actually thought Brooks was very mature about the whole situation. He's like, well, I mean, if you said this is not in her character, like this even proves it more.
Right.
Like
right.
he was like trying to tell her,
like the voice of reason.
Right. And, she still really wasn't buying it. And then as soon as Mary gets there, she I guess because Mary didn't come in apologizing. And I think that's what she wanted.
Yeah. Mary's not going to do that.
No, she's not going to do that. And, Meredith started with, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, why? Why, why wouldn't it be?
She's not going to confide in her right now.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I have to say, as a sidebar, I loved Meredith's boots and I loved Mary's shoes.
I don't remember Mary's shoes.
I was like, oh, they're so cute. Yeah. They were both really nice. Meredith's boots and Mary's shoes.
I did note Meredith's boots. I did like those too, but I don't remember Mary's shoes. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So Meredith says that she was acting out of character at her house. And Mary said, well, you left my house. And she said, well, I no longer felt welcome there. She's like, and you told me to leave. And she's like, no, I told both you and Angie if you weren't going to listen to me because you were both yelling. It wasn't just you. I didn't single you out. And then Meredith said that Angie was coming for me. And you told me in the past that you would stand by me and you'd be there for me. And then all of a sudden you jumped on her bandwagon. And she's like, I don't jump on anyone's bandwagon. And I was yelling at both of you. You were both yelling.
She was.
She was.
Like, she really, she yelled like Angie. And that's when Angie, she still said something after that, Angie, but then that's finally when she stopped.
Yeah.
I mean, Meredith took it to another level where she was like, I don't feel comfortable,
Right. I didn't feel welcome.
Right.
And you were going to stand by me. Well, what was there to stand by at that point? Like, there wasn't.
You couldn't even make sense of what anybody was talking about because they were just yelling profanities at each other.
Exactly.
At that point, the F-bombs were flying and,
And then Mary said, you severed our friendship and you're not always the victim. I was surprised to hear her say that.
Yeah, me too. But it's true.
It is true. And I'm glad she said it.
Yeah. Well, it didn't end well, the gallery.
No, it certainly did not.
There was no resolve.
No, there was no resolve. And she said that, she doesn't feel like this is a healthy friendship and she left. And then in her confessional, she said she's bearing this big cross on what's going on with Robert Jr. And we know that she is. And honestly, if Meredith was her friend, Meredith would know too.
Right.
Which was kind of Mary's point. Right?
Yeah. Somebody put on one of the social medias today, I'm not saying this to make it a racial thing, but somebody put on, I don't know if it was X or whatever, but, a picture of Mary talking to Robert Jr. and then clips of different comments made by Bravo personalities. And Teresa Giudice wrote one, like, praying for you and your son. And somebody wrote, other than Teresa, only the Brown girls came out to support Mary, not even her own castmates. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I did comment and I said, hopefully they've reached out privately. I would really hope that her castmates reached out to her privately. I didn't look at the post. I haven't been paying attention. I don't know if that's necessarily true, what that person wrote.
Right.
Her examples were that,
right.
Other than Teresa. But I really just hope that her castmates reached out to her privately, because whether you're on good terms with her or not, that is a horrendous thing to go through.
100%.
She clearly needs her friends or support from anybody, whether you can consider yourself her friend or not right now.
Right. No, I totally agree. And I think that would be horrible if that was true. But honestly, I don't think it was true. And it could just be, when Meredith was asked about it on stage, she said that, she didn't know anything about it. And I can't imagine as soon as she found out, she wouldn't have reached out to her.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
I mean, these women are not heartless. I mean,
Right. And it's for her own castmates. Personally, I think it's better if they don't do it on a public forum.
right. Right. I agree.
I think it's better if they do it privately. That's just my personal opinion.
Then we see Angie and Lisa are at the aquarium, and they each bring their kids with them.
I love an aquarium.
I do too. And I actually really liked the scene. I liked seeing them really talk. I mean, because they really were friends before this big blow up. They were friends. And I feel like at least in this scene where they were talking, I don't think either one of them really admitted wrongdoing, but they both kind of heard what the other one had to say.
Yeah.
And said, okay, you know what? We're going to put this behind us and we're going to move forward.
I think that Angie did the right thing by apologizing. I think Lisa is a bit of a needy friend, and that's okay.
Right,
Some people need more than others in a friendship. So I do think Angie did the right thing, though. There was no way, there was no other way to do it without and moving forward.
No, absolutely. And she did it. She did apologize, and that's fine. Like, you apologize and you move forward. But I just hope that that's it. I hope it doesn't come back again.
Well, me too, especially after what happens at the camp thing.
Right. And I mean, even the fact that, Angie had said that, when Lisa gets upset, she gets loud. And for for Angie, that's like a trigger because it reminds her of what it was like with her mother. When her mother, would get upset, it would get loud. So she would shut down.
Yeah.
And, I know that that's how some people react to things. Some people get loud and others just retreat.
Right.
And then we see Mary talking about how she looks at Robert Jr. and she still sees her baby and she wants him back.
As I'm watching this, I'm thinking, I understand Robert Sr. doesn't want to film. I don't blame him. Oh, and by the way, did you know, and I learned this from the Bravo docket, Robert Sr. was 20 years younger than Mary's grandmother when she married him. Mary's grandmother was in her 40s. Robert Sr. was in his 20s. So I'm thinking that Robert is probably only about 20 years older than Mary.
No, I learned it from the Bravo docket too. I listened to that whole thing about the lawsuit and the money and I did. Right. I learned a lot from that.
So, I mean, I understand that he was married to her grandmother, so he was her step-grandfather, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
But I know people who are in relationships with a 20-year difference.
Right.
It's fine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
But anyway, I understand he doesn't want to film, but I really hope he's there right now. And I really hope that Mary's not dealing with this by herself. I hope he's in that house supporting Mary, and it not only, I mean, he's his son as well, like going through this with her, because that is not easy to go through alone.
No.
It's not easy to go through with a partner, with the family, never mind alone. So I hope he's there with her.
I hope he is too. And I have a feeling that he is.
I do too.
I have a feeling that he's there supporting her because, like you said, it's his son too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we see they, arrive to the camp troop, Beverly Hills, whatever they're calling it, Campfire.
Oh, another movie reference, by the way.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And she's driving with Mary and she asks her what the deal is with Meredith. And Mary said, it took her an hour and a half to meet up with her because she gets her Airbnb, like not
Park City, not Salt Lake City.
Right. Not where we are. So,
I thought that was real interesting.
Yeah, I do too. And I think she was justified in that.
How about when they reference her grabbing her swag before she left Mary's house? How Teresa Giudice was that? Yes. I'm going to leave because I'm in the hot seat and I can't handle it, but I'm going to grab my gift on my way out.
Yeah.
That was so Teresa.
It was so funny too. And even when they called her out on it, she's like, well, I'd gladly give it back. It was there on the table with my stuff. So I just grabbed my stuff and left. Right. And I'm just like, come on. All right. You
know what you came in with and you know what you left with.
Yep. Then we see Bronwyn, Lisa, and Heather. They're driving together and they're talking about where they all stand with each other. And they were all supposed to bring a dish to this. It was a potluck kind of thing. I was actually surprised as to how much food was brought there.
Yeah.
I mean, all those trays and beans, and I mean,
Yeah.
I think
And none of them ate.
No.
I
and
hope they
never
brought all that food to a homeless shelter on their way home.
I know. It was, yeah. I was surprised just to see how much food they brought. I thought they were going to go out there and, maybe do like a charcuterie board or something. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like, no.
Yeah.
And then we see Mealy again. We haven't seen her maybe twice. I even forgot who she was.
I totally forgot who she was. And she kept making these snide comments. And Tess was in the room with me. And I'm like, who is that? Who is that? She's like, I don't know. I don't watch this. I'm just sitting here with you. But I'm like, who the hell is that? I completely forgot about that girl. Whose friend is she? Whitney's?
She's supposed to be Whitney's friend.
That's right. That's right. They said that it was her friend. And then it was like Whitney admit that it was like a friend of a friend.
Right. But
yeah.
we really haven't seen her.
No, not at all.
That I certainly didn't expect to see her at this Kumbaya campfire thing, right?
No, because when they split up for teams, I don't think she was listed. Was she on a team? I don't think she was.
You know what? That's a good, you know what? I didn't even pay attention to that because I was just so thrown, to be quite honest, to even see her there.
Yeah, but I think I was paying attention to who was on whose team because I was trying to figure out who the hell she was.
It's so funny because I normally write it down and I just did Team Heather and Team Whitney. I didn't put who was on each team.
Yeah.
That is funny.
Whitney was definitely Mary and maybe Angie. And then Heather, Meredith. I don't know. Maybe
honestly,
she was on a team because no, Brittany was there too. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
But Mary shuffling in that potato sack.
I know, that was so funny. That was so funny. Listen, I don't think I would have been doing anything other than that either. I cannot imagine me trying to jump and hop, and I would have been doing my little shuffle thing too, probably.
For sure. For sure. I mean, I remember doing that at field
school.
Day.
Yeah, as a kid.
Yeah.
Not as a grown woman.
No. Things are bouncing around too much now. Everything was nice and tight back then.
Yeah, exactly. And then before the sack race, Heather's teaching Meredith how to start a fire with a lighter. I'm just like, and then Meredith is wearing her Burberry and she makes some reference about that, about, starting a fire in her Burberry. And then when Mary and Angie shows up, Meredith says, I guess an hour late is the norm these days, referencing Mary being late. Again, not necessary.
Right.
Not necessary. Heather then gives everyone a whistle and explains that the whistle is to...
If you sense danger or if you want to get out of a bad situation I guess, like in the conversation.
Right. And that she dug a hole in the ground over there if they need to go to the bathroom.
That had to be a joke, right? Because I wouldn't have eaten or drank anything either.
I don't know if it was. I mean, I think it probably was a joke, but I don't think that there was a bathroom there. I mean, because they were in the middle of nowhere. Yeah,
no, you can't. Don't invite me anywhere where there's not a proper bathroom. No. No. Those days are over. Those high school days drinking in the woods.
Yeah, no, can't do that.
Not squatting on the ground anymore.
No. And then Lisa said to Brittany that she saw Jared in all of her Instagram stories. Again, like, all right, so.
I know, but what is this girl doing?
I know. I saw on social media, I think it was TikTok, some girl was like, I was watching this girl on Salt Lake and I said, wow, she looks familiar. And then like she walks over to her wedding album and she opens it up and she goes, she's my father's ex-wife.
What?
Yeah. So I commented on it and I started following it. So we're going to have to follow this and see.
So Brittany was her husband's ex-wife?
Brittany was married to this girl who got Mary's father. Yes.
That's wild.
Yeah, because we know that she was married with the children and she doesn't talk to the children, right? So and then the Jared thing, and where was this guy in the picture?
I don't know. We definitely have to follow up on that though.
Yes, I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa. But even still, Brittany says that, she was dating 10 guys when Lisa said to her, "What's with Jared all over your story?" And she's like, "Well, I was doing it BYU style." What?
Well, she means she's only kissing them at the end of the night. That's what she meant by that, which was ridiculous.
Yeah, but then Heather starts explaining the soaking and no thrusting or pumping or orgasm. Like, I was
Tess was in the room with me for that too. She was like, "What the hell?" I'm like, I know.
I mean, I guess if it wasn't for the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, this would have been all new to us. But this is
absolutely
old news.
Yeah.
This is old news now. You should have told us this in the first season, not the 5th.
Exactly.
Like they did on their first season.
She should have had a glossary of terms in her, not that I read her book, but in her book.
Yeah.
That would have been helpful.
Yeah. So then Heather asked, what were your favorite memories from camp? And Brittany said just before the testimony, which I guess she was going to like a Mormon camp.
Yeah.
That she would go into the wilderness by herself. What? Like that was your favorite memory of camp?
Yeah, it sounds scary as hell.
Right. And then Angie asks her, like, are you a practicing Mormon? And she says, yeah, I'm still practicing. And she's like, well, does your bishop know that you're drinking? Because you were so upset with me, about bringing you alcohol. And she said, well, and Angie says, in my religion, I'm allowed to drink alcohol, but I know in yours, you're not. So like, why are you being that way? And then all of a sudden, Mary's like, yeah, you're being two-faced. And that's kind of when this whole thing started going sideways. Because
yes, it sure did.
That's when Meredith jumps in.
Yeah.
Meredith says, I'm not. Oh, and then Brittany jumps in and because Meredith jumps in and she yells Brittany she tells her to shut up. I'm not talking to you. And I'm just like,
she says, I have manners. And then she tells her to shut up.
Shut up. I know.
I mean, it's Mary, so we're letting it slide.
Exactly.
But that was funny.
That was funny. I'm not talking to you. Shut up. And then Mary's like, you
and
asked
then she
me
says,
to leave.
I have manners.
Yeah. Lisa then says to Bronwyn, why don't you ask Whitney what she said about Heather? So then now Lisa's trying to stir up the pot about what Whitney said about Heather. And then Angie said, you were talking about Lisa when we went on that walk. Remember when they went on the walk and Bronwyn was there, but she didn't really participate in the conversation.
No, she said, I don't know that side of Lisa.
Right, exactly.
I mean, she said exactly what she said.
Yes, no, she did. She was actually honest with the whole thing.
And hopefully Lisa watches that back and sees that she was not participating in that. Even Angie wasn't saying that much.
No.
It was really only Whitney that was going off.
It was. It definitely was. And then Lisa again starts telling Whitney that she's lying. And that's a trigger for Whitney. And she starts like, don't call me a liar. And then Mary says, but that's true. You do lie to Whitney. And it is true. She does lie. Like she doesn't always speak the truth.
Right.
And then all of a sudden it comes out about the copycat jumpsuit that Lisa wore.
By the way, it's fucking ugly.
It is ugly.
It's so ugly.
It's ugly. And Lisa's like, but I got it off the runway. You probably bought it at Bergdorf's. I'm like, who cares?
Who cares? Did you see Brittany's social media? She got one of those red.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did. And by the way, there's not only 3 of them.
I'm sure that was a knockoff, but still made for great content. That was funny.
So then Mary calls her a dingbat and Meredith blows her whistle. I'm like, this is like another shit show.
Yeah, a total fail. Whatever they were trying to do, it was a total fail.
Right. So then Mary gets up and is like, I don't have time for this. I have all this going on with my child. And she gets up and she leaves. And then Braun was like, everyone wants to be all over me. And then she gets up and leaves. And then Mary says, I should have stayed at home. And she probably should have. So that whole campfire thing. And Heather's just sitting there like with her face in her hands, like tried to make this better.
Right. Right.
But she didn't really try and make it better.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And then we see Meredith is going to be doing her Shabbat dinner the next day. And she invites over Heather, Brittany, Jared, Bronwyn, and Todd. And then Lisa shows up with Seth a little, or John. Lisa shows up with John a little while later. I did think it was interesting that she invited Bronwyn and Todd because,
Yeah, and Heather called him Alan.
I know.
And she did prior to that at Bronwyn's house.
No.
I thought it was weird that Brittany and Jared were there.
I did too. And then even the conversation that Jared is having about him being part Jewish.
Yeah.
I don't know. That whole, every interaction with them lately is just very odd.
It is. And then John starts, was John adopted? Is this the first we know that John's adopted?
I didn't know he was adopted before this.
I mean, I'm assuming he's adopted because she's talking about his birth mother and birth father. Right?
I don't even know, to be honest with you.
I'm finding it all very hard.
I don't even know. I don't even know.
It's like they're either talking in ways you can't follow or they're screaming and cursing at each other. There is no in between.
No, it's so true. And even the fact that like Heather's there talking to Brooks and Chloe, and she once again is talking about the pumping and the soaking.
Yeah, it's weird.
Like these are her children. Why is she talking with Meredith's children about this?
Yeah, and remember how upset season 1 Meredith got with Jen Shah because she was talking to Brooks about something like sexual.
I thought she got upset with Jen Shah because Jen Shah, or Brooks had said something about Jen Shah, like putting her boobs in his face or something.
Yeah, it was something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, but Meredith got very,
right,
offended by it.
Right.
So Heather better tread lightly.
So then also before that, so Seth is talking to Jared and he's telling him how he finds it so interesting that the Jews celebrate by drinking and then the Mormons like ban it. It's prohibited. So like, why does one religion celebrate it and the other religion bans it? Like, does he really think that Jared's going to have the answer to that?
We our religion celebrates it. Why do Mormons not? Is it because of the addiction? Like it's
yeah,
right. It's anything that you could get addicted to.
Yeah.
So that's why they don't want you drinking caffeine and all same.
Right.
Yeah.
But they don't seem to have a problem with sugar or fake sugar because they all drink diet sodas. Which,
that's right.
Also very addictive.
Yes, exactly.
Both of them very addictive.
Yes.
I also thought it was interesting when Todd said when he started dating Bronwyn that he had the CIA do a full background check on her. The CIA? How did you do that?
I don't know, but
summon the CIA.
I was thinking about this. This would explain why they don't have a prenup, because clearly he had the means and the connections to do some serious background checking.
Right.
And she came out completely clean. She said she was successful in her own right when they got married. I'm sure she was not worth anywhere near what he's worth.
Right.
But he must have been very pleased with the results of that background check and fully trusted her.
Right. It does make sense. It does make sense. I mean, I still think it's a little odd.
Yeah, but I guess with his, with his money and who knows what else he was into, maybe he was into some secret society shit. I don't know. I don't want people coming for him, though, for telling her not to use the C word, because I got to be honest with you. My husband would do the same thing. I never use that word. I never say that word.
I don't either.
The C word is, to me, it's not as bad, obviously, but like the N word, like obviously I never use that word, but the C word, I never use that word.
No.
If I ever said that at a dinner party, Eric would have had the exact same reaction. So I really hope people don't come for him for correcting her in this respect, because I don't think there was anything wrong with it.
No,
personally.
but she said it was snarky bitch. She said it. She said
he said the C word. They beeped it out. She also said that, but she definitely said the C word.
Okay, because he also said it to that. He said, "Don't say that." To the snarky bitch as well. Which again, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that either. Like,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No.
I hate that word. I hate the C word.
I do too.
Meredith says out loud to the table that she thinks there's something more serious going on with Mary.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. She says she thinks that there's a bigger issue. And actually, even Brittany agrees with her in this. She said maybe there's something to what Meredith is saying, because she was acting out of character. Maybe there is something else going on.
Yeah.
And then we see that Mary goes home and we see her talk to Robert Jr. in his room.
That was hard to watch. I
It
was
was
putting
hard.
off watching this episode because I knew this was going to be hard to watch.
No, it was definitely hard to watch. I will say that I did think he looked good compared to how we've seen him the other times in the season. You know, he did look good, and he was honest with her. And I think that, you know, she was honest with her feelings. She asked him, "How are you?" He said, you know, taking Xanax, and, you know, that I'm taking Adderall to balance out the Xanax. And she said, "Well, do you see this as a problem? Are you unhappy?" He says, "Sometimes I feel like life is like chicken unseasoned. But when I get high, it's like adding seasoning to it." And I thought to myself, that is a very interesting analogy. And I think that it's a good analogy.
Great
It's
analogy.
It really is. I had never, ever heard that before. And I think that that's a good analogy. And I think that, I don't know what made him think of that, but I guess that's how he
Neither,
felt.
but it was great. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think everyone could feel exactly what he meant when he said that.
Yep.
Mary said, "Well, when did you start?" And he said he just turned 16. He started doing Xanax with acid and then Molly and then mix it with everything and then cocaine. And, you know, you could see Mary's face. And, you know, we're parents. We know that that can be deadly. Like, it is a miracle that he is still sitting here telling this story.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a miracle. And regularly he was taking 30 milligrams of oxy. And that he felt like that at one day he was taking 10 at once, and that was a turning point for him because he didn't feel it at all. He didn't feel it at all. And that's, you know, Mary started crying. She was crying the whole time. Like, you know, "I won't judge you. I will love you. I will help you. I will try and help you, but
You
I
gotta
won't
want it though.
Right. You have to do this. I won't support this, but I will support you. And, you know, you have to do this yourself," which he does. And in her confessional was really even heartbreaking too, when she says that she feels disappointed in herself, you know, and that she didn't, you know, she did know that he smoked weed and did edibles, but she had no idea the extent. And I get that she's disappointed in herself because she's a parent and she's a mom, and we blame ourselves for everything.
Everything.
And, you know, she's telling them that he is blessed with every day and that God loves him. And he is blessed. The fact that he's even sitting here to tell this story after everything that he's done and taken,
Absolutely.
like, that is a blessing. And, you know, then he goes on to say that, you know, he wanted to die at the time. I mean, he actually said those words, and that Mary said, "Do you know what that would do? It would kill me." And then he said, "I felt like a stain, like he was a stain on the name, on the family. I felt like this world wasn't for me." And I was just like, oh my gosh, like, and he does tell her that the only reason he didn't do it was because of her.
Yeah.
And I believe that. I believe that. I believe that that's why he was able to find the strength to tell her what was happening.
Right.
And so now he can get the help that he needs, you know, because he couldn't do that to his mother.
Right. Right.
And I also
I don't think there's anything more Mary could have done in that moment. Like, I just think that she handled that so perfectly.
Yeah.
I really do.
No, I do
You can't
too.
change anybody. You can't make them want anything. But I don't, personally watching her, I'm like, I don't know if I would have been like that in that conversation, because I just get crazy in my head.
Yeah,
she was so good. She was so calm. She was so, like, empathetic, but stern. Like, I don't know. She was just
supportive. She was very supportive. She was very loving. And I do think, you know, like I just said, that it is a blessing that he is alive because of everything that he did take. And I do think that the fact that he did finally have the strength to be honest with her, I really think that that's because Mary has been praying for him this whole time.
For sure.
And I really do think this was a divine intervention that allowed him to be able to open up to her. And I think that her being there and to be able to receive it and to help him is all because of what got him to this place and her faith. I think that if he didn't have a mom there that loved him so much, that this would have went a totally different way.
Absolutely.
But
absolutely,
she was there, and she even said earlier in the season that I am supporting him. He's not ready to work, and she knew something was going on, but she didn't know the extent of it.
Right.
And how could she? Because he wasn't telling her.
Right.
So,
and look, she said he was a straight A kid until he graduated high school. Like, he was obviously doing all the right things. So I'm not saying she should feel guilty, but as mothers, we just naturally do.
We do.
But I don't think, taking your eye off the ball when your kid's getting straight A's and doing everything he's supposed to do.
Right.
It's easy to do.
Yeah. And I don't even, Andy did say on the Watch What Happens Live that night, because it was down in Miami, that he did speak to Mary and that her message was that Robert is doing much better.
Thank God.
Yeah. Which is, yes, yet another blessing, like every day is a blessing. We all need to remember that, all of us, because even when we have a hard day, you got to be like, at least I had a day. At least I was here, because life is easy sometimes. It's not.
Every day is harder than the next.
Yeah. No, it's true. Yeah. And you know what? So it's interesting. So I had therapy today. I do therapy regularly. And when I was talking to my therapist, it had occurred to me that although I'm tired, and I've said that earlier tonight, I'm tired, and I feel like there's a lot on my plate, I am still grateful and blessed at what I do have, because I know this time of year is very hard for a lot of people. And we talked about it. My therapist and I talked about it. She's like, you have no idea. I said, you're right. I don't have any idea. She's like, between all the people that had a hard time with the election, and then all these same people that are now going to be getting together with their family for the holidays who have different beliefs as them. And what do you say and what don't you say? And then all the people that don't have anybody to go to. She's like, it is, this is the time of year when people are really struggling. And you know what? I think that one thing that we can do is we can just be kind to others.
Right.
And when you're out there doing your Christmas shopping or trying to park the car, or, someone does something that annoys you, just think, well, maybe they're having a hard day. And, give them grace, give grace to others, because it's very difficult this time of year for a lot of people.
Yeah.
For a lot of reasons.
Absolutely.
So I think maybe we could end on that. This to remember to just be positive and give people grace.
Yep.
Right?
Be thankful.
Yeah. Thank you for watching and listening to We Wine Whenever. Until next time.
Bye.
Bye.